Systematic marginalization and disenfranchisement of Rohingyas by successive governments of Myanmar since the late 1940s and indiscriminate persecutions of this community by Myanmar security forces and Buddhist extremists have led to the continued influx of Rohingyas to Bangladesh for more than half a century. Apart from regular influx during the last 6 decades, there had been 4 major exoduses of Rohingyas to Bangladesh in 1978 to 79, 1991 to 92, 2016 and 2017.
In Myanmar, there are numerous small ethnic groups, and the Rohingyas are one such group. Available historical records suggest that many centuries of human migration and settlement helped evolve the Rohingya ethnicity in Rakhine State of Myanmar, which is known as Rakhine State. And Arakan was generally referred to as Roshang or Rohang in the Chronicles of Bengal and Tripura Kings. And from that derives the name Rohingya, by which the people of that area are now known as. They settled, the modern, the Rohingyas, they settled in Rakhine after 1825 and were indigenized in Burma well before its independence in 1948. However, successive military regimes, military governments in Myanmar have systematically deprived them from their rights. In 1982, the Citizenship Act was the final nail in the coffin, if we may use that, the proverbial nail in the coffin, as it took away their right of citizenship. Owing to this vulnerability, as well as due to the existing racial hatred against them in the Rakhine State and recurring communal violence, they have repeatedly fled their homes and taken shelter in neighboring countries, principally in Bangladesh, because of the proximity. While small numbers trickle all the time, borders are porous, they just literally walk across through jungles and rivers. There have been 3 major influxes or exoduses of the Rohingyas to Bangladesh. The first one was in the late 70s, 78, 79, nearly 200,000 had come in then. And then again in the 1991-92 expulsion, when nearly 300,000 came in. And my MA thesis was actually right in the backdrop of that. And in 2012 onwards, there were again people coming in because of the situation getting worsening in the Rakhine State. Until, of course, we saw the large influx or exodus in 2017, when nearly 700,000 fled into Bangladesh. And with this latest exodus, the total number of Rohingyas in Bangladesh came to over 400 million, over a million, 1.1 million as they say, because there were nearly about another 400 million. They were there, the residual caseloads from the previous exoduses, as well as the trickle-in that was happening all the time. So right now in Bangladesh, with the latest influx of 700,000 in 2017, we have about 1.1 million of them there. In August, the Rohingyas actually fled brutal persecution and atrocities at the hands of the Myanmar authorities, mainly the Tamado or the military authorities. And despite the enormous challenges and constraints that we have, Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina actually took a very bold decision to give temporary shelter to these persecuted people on humanitarian consideration. And the Rohingya crisis is Myanmar's own creation. As I said, over recurring generations, they have deprived this population of their identity, of their citizenship, taken away their lands, taken even many fundamental basic human rights, fundamental rights that any citizen enjoy, the right to move, the right to marry, the right to get jobs, all of them were curtailed. So they literally lived in a situation of seizure in their own country. So that had led them to leave their ancestral homes from time to time and seek refuge elsewhere. But in 2017, what happened was the severity, the magnitude and severity of the persecution was actually not seen before. And because of that situation and what happened, I mean, right after they fled their homes, there are reports that villages were torn down. Even those who are there, they're literally living in IDP camps, etc. Because of that situation, up until now, since 2017 and up until now, not a single Rohingya have actually gone back to Myanmar. And the irony is that Bangladesh is hosting about 1.1 million Rohingyas. There are other neighboring countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, and others, Thailand. They're also hosting in some smaller and greater numbers. So the total number of Rohingyas now living abroad outside of Myanmar is higher, much higher than the Rohingyas who actually now remain in Myanmar, in the Rakhine State. It is believed that about 600,000 or so are now left in Rakhine State, and a large number of them are actually in IDP camps or temporary shelters, and they have been expelled from their homes and villages. So this is the situation.
Ensuring fundamental rights for Rohingyas in line with the recommendations of the Kofi Annan Commission and ending the culture of impunity in Myanmar by bringing the perpetrators to justice is of paramount importance to resolve the crisis permanently. In the backdrop of Myanmar's continued defiance of its obligations, the international community needs to act promptly in a decisive manner to ensure justice and rights for the persecuted Rohingya.